Hello and welcome to our show. It is another very beautiful weekend and it is time to deal. We deal in matters that concerns you, matter that concerns your general well-being and your personal growth. And of course, the growth of our dear country, Nigeria. And that is why today our focus is on the power sector. Governments after governments have invested on power and made some bold moves, but yet it's still not uhuru for this very important sector. What are we doing wrong? What should we do right moving forward? And what are the major challenges? That is what our conversation today will be centered on. And to help us along our conversation, we have guests, and most importantly, we have you. Thank you for keeping a date with us. It is WeekendDeal coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patience Eloy Abba, and I am delighted to be here. But actually, I have two reasons why I'm delighted. The first one, because you're here. The second one, because I am not home alone. I'm with the USB. Right. Now, he will tell us what USB is all about and what it stands for. He's here.
You know what USB is all about. After all, it started from you. You actually coined that. Usman Suleiman Babajia. Of course, that is my name. And I welcome you to the studios of WeekendDeal. And just like Patience said, we're going to be talking extensively about power, supply in Nigeria. Of course, you can't talk about power supply in Nigeria now without making reference to the new tariff, regime in the country. I know a lot of people are not happy about it, but in the course of this program, we'll definitely, engage some key individuals to unravel the situation for us. Welcome once again. And right now, we take you straight to the news studio.
Good morning, Joseph.
Thanks for joining us here. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has formally endorsed the candidature of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State for a second term of office. The chairman caretaker committee of the All Progressives Congress, Governor Mai Bala Buni of Yobe State, announced this while briefing journalists after an audience with the president. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
The chairman APC caretaker and extraordinary convention planning committee, Mai Malabuni, was in the State House to formally present Governor Rotimi Akeredolu as the governing party's candidate for the forthcoming Ondo governorship election. Along with them were the deputy governorship candidate, Lucky Ayedatiwa, the chairman of the campaign council and governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, as well as his Plateau State counterpart, Simon Lalong. APC begins campaign for Ondo governorship election on Saturday, and President Muhammadu Buhari is optimistic that the governor's mandate will be renewed by the people of the Sunshine State. This, he said, is to keep alive the implementation of the next level agenda for sustainable socio-economic development.
Mr. President has endorsed him. He commended him for his efforts in the last 4 years. That's what we've been looking for. His blessing, his endorsement, his encouragement and support. And we have gotten that.
When you have a good product and the people have seen and they've agreed with you that that's the choice they want to make, it makes the job a whole lot easier. And so for us, it's really about ensuring that we do not take anybody for granted. That's why we're not going to be resting on our oars, even when we know that he's done very well. We will still go through the entire gamut of campaigning to reassure them that their governor, our candidate, will continue on a good job that he's doing.
Ondo State is an APC state, and we are certain that it's not going to get out of hand. What am I going to do different? A lot. I have a lot of projects that we have not completed. Today, we speak to the people of Ondo State that, look, we are determined to have Port Ondo, and that is the port that will service the whole of West Africa. I'm appealing to the people of Ondo State, let us see this project to fruition. We need to be there to steer the affairs of state to ensure that bitumen comes on board from Ondo State. That's where we have the largest deposit of bitumen, second largest in the world. And these are things we are convinced we will have to do.
The Ondo governorship election is scheduled for the 10th of October 2020. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, as the October 10th governorship election in Ondo State draws closer, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo this Friday received the flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, who is seeking re-election. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the governor, accompanied by chairman of the APC campaign council for the Ondo Guber election, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos.
Excited Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State displaying and flying the All Progressives Congress flag just received from the president as the flag bearer in the October 10th Guber election in Ondo State. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo receives the governor, his running mate Lucky Ayedatiwa, and chairman of the 104-member campaign council, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, giving his blessings and commends the governor for his achievements in the state.
We believe that what God Almighty has enabled us to do in Ondo State should speak for us. And that's why we say to our people, we are boldly the issue of little things we are able to do, write and campaign with it. And I believe that it's resonating very well with the people of Ondo State, and the people of Ondo State can see what we have been able to do. So you can be sure that we are banking on that.
We've just finished with the president, and we felt it's also important on the courtesy to also pay the same courtesy to Mr. Vice President in the same manner, to seek for his blessing and to get all of their support since we're starting off on the campaign.
The Vice President is scheduled to be at the flag off of the re-election campaign this Saturday in the state capital, Akure. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The policies and programs of the Buhari administration are youth-driven in order to reposition young Nigerians economically and reduce unemployment. Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator George Akume, stated this when he received the APC National Executive Committee Integrity Group in Abuja. Mitari Ikben reports.
The meeting afforded the minister and members of the APC NEC Integrity Group opportunity to take stock of the strides of the Buhari administration across critical sectors. The minister noted that the foresight of the present administration in drafting and implementing the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic is to safeguard and consolidate on various economic policies aimed at improving the well-being of the masses.
Look at the new fund established by government, 75 billion for the youths, and there are lots more which seek to integrate the youth into the mainstream of the Nigerian economy. Give your support to the president, defend him wherever you are, defend your party. Be very proud because of the achievements.
We appreciate you for the support you are giving to this administration, the good representation you are giving to APC as a party.
Nigerians are urged to keep faith with the Buhari-led federal government in its quest to open more economic corridors for Nigerian youths to thrive. In Abuja, Mitari Ikben, NTA News.
A British court has granted Nigeria more time to appeal a $10 billion arbitration case with the company Process Industrial Development as P&ID. The judgment is regarded as a relief in Nigeria's pursuit to overturn the $10 billion judgment awarded against the country 3 years ago. The federal government says it is pleased with the outcome from the court hearing. P&ID won a $6.6 billion arbitration award after a 2010 deal to carry out a gas project in Nigeria collapsed. The award has been accruing interest since 2013 and is now worth nearly $10 billion. The court ruling now allows the federal government to bring the challenge well outside the normal time limits. Meanwhile, the presidency says it welcomes the judgment by the UK court, describing it as right, just, and one that provides a relief to file a strong prima facie case that the fraudulent gas deal with P&ID and the arbitration award were a clear attempt to cheat the country of billions of dollars. The presidency expresses delight with the processes that led to this outcome in the English court, noting that it has given relief to Nigerian government to further protect the national assets and criminally minded organizations and individuals. It notes with satisfaction that the court, among others, had ruled that Nigeria established a strong prima facie case that the gas supply and processing was procured by bribes paid to insiders as part of a larger scheme to defraud Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari commends the team of lawyers who represented Nigeria and reassures all well-meaning Nigerians and the international community of his unwavering commitment to fight corruption in all its forms and manifestation. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the ruling by the British court that Nigeria can proceed with its challenge of the $10 billion arbitral award against the country is a huge sigh of relief. Anthony Forson reports.
Recently, the story made rounds that Nigeria has been found guilty for breaching the contract. The Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed and his justice counterpart Abubakar Malami, alongside the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele, Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu, former acting chairman EFCC Ibrahim Magu, and other top government functionaries arrived in London to tell Nigeria's side of the story.
When this administration came in, was that from the blues, we were slammed. We think it was about $9.6 billion damages that we had to pay to the P&ID ostensibly for breach of contract. And at that time, what they did was they employed and hired one of the most effective publicists in the world. And Nigeria was gripped with the fear that our foreign assets, our oil, will be attached. And that is when we started this campaign. Our campaign, as I said, we were quite clear in our mind at this office that this matter will be won not just in court of law, but also in the court of public opinion. So one of the first things we did was that we found out that the entire country was gripped with fear. Investors panicked. So we moved, first of all, to Lagos to address the captains of industry, bank chairmen, bank MDs, the industrialists, to tell them, listen, we are going to contest this. We will not pay a dime. We know that we have a good case. The whole thing is fraudulent, and please don't start disinvesting in Nigeria. That was the first thing we did.
And so on the day the case came up, Nigeria was granted the opportunity to appeal the judgment with some conditions, which it met. And following yesterday's ruling in favor of Nigeria that Nigeria can challenge the case, Lai Mohammed says it is a plus for the country.
Nigeria can now breathe a sigh of relief. Until this judgment of yesterday, Nigeria was still living in fear. If, for instance, the Court of Business and Property had ruled that we were liable then it means that we have to pay $10 billion in damages to PNID. And all our foreign artists and locals would have been in danger. But as of today, what it means is that either the matter will go back to arbitration, at which point we'll be able to show the whole that the whole thing ab initio was a sham, or they will have to set out of court. But of course, I'm not preempting the legal team, what they are going to do. But right now, we have a second chance, which is very important to us.
Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Let's turn to NCDC COVID-19 update now. NCDC confirms 156 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria as at Friday, the 4th of September. Lagos has 36, FCT 35, Oyo 29, Kaduna 10, Abia 9, Osun, Ogun and Enugu 5 cases each. Rivers 4, Nasarawa, Ekiti and Imo have 3 cases each. Edo, Kwara, Katsina and Plateau 2 cases each, while Niger has 1 case. Total confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria are 54,743. Number of discharged cases 42,816 and 1,051 deaths have been recorded. Let's bring you sports now. And that's the news for now. Thanks for watching. It's now back to Patience and Suleiman for the continuation of WeekendDeal.
Thank you, Joseph Johnson. We're not done with the news yet. Let's see what the papers have for us. And I'll begin with the Saturday Sun. Okay, the first story here by the nameplate says, return fuel price to 121 naira or face Nigerians' wrath. Labour warns federal government. There are writers to the story. The first one says petrol may sell for 170 per litre in southeast fuel marketers. Doctors begin nationwide strike Monday. That is on page 10 and 11. Then underneath that, there are 2 stories here. I'll start with the one on the left. Says Water Resources Bill, Constitution Amendment Controversy. Lobby NANS, or that is the National Assembly, or keep quiet. Tanko Yakasei blast southern leaders. And next to that is the Enugu killings. Police arrest wounded IPOB member. Grandfather in hospital. That is on page 29. Okay, the bigger story here says exclusive 712 billion naira looted by 3 amnesty coordinators. That is by the presidential panel. The writers say indict Kuku, General Bureau, Professor Dokubo for alleged massive stealing. Only administrative, not financial infractions established against Dokubo, says aid. Okay, by the big story, there are stories by the side, and the first one says, why I will remain in Bassa, says Mercy. If you want to know more, you have to turn to page 23 of the Saturday Sun. And there's a lady here, she says, I am open to marrying an actor, Belinda Efa actress. And then the last story below all the stories here, the last story here says, Auto Eze Obiano feud. Anambra doles out 144 jeeps to monarchs. That story is on page 11. I will quickly move to Daily Trust. Now, I start with the first story under the nameplate. Says floor price hike presses Nigerians harder. That story is on page 30. And then we have the next story. It says $9.6 billion P&ID deal. Court grants Nigerian relief. Presidency welcomes verdict. That is on page 4 of the Daily Trust. And then the middle of the paper, which seems to be the biggest story, says flood of tears as homes, farmlands get washed away. Now that's a very sad one. That's on page 5 and 6. And below that we hear the story of Ochanya. Oh, okay, the girl that was raped a long time ago. Says Ochanya, a mother's 2-year wait for justice. That is on page 17. Next to that, fuel price, electricity tariff. Have mercy on Nigerians, on Icon, Kiagama, urge federal government as northern groups threaten resistance. That is on page 4. And the last and final story for me here is respite in southern Kaduna as Atiap Hausa Fulani shield swords. That is all I have for the Daily Trust. Suleiman.
Well, I'm starting with Saturday Independent with the story just above the masthead. We saw a bit of that during the news, in the news the studio earlier. And it says that Nigeria flows process and industrial development as UK court grants relief from $10 billion fine. Now, to the story just below the main flag, we have choice of EFCC chairman divides Aso Rock. Aisha Buhari, Malami, Gambari, others propose 14 candidates. Details of that can be found on page 8. Now, 186 billion naira school feeding program. Nigerians want comprehensive list of beneficiaries. It has some riders here. Each a child consumes food worth 1,400 per month, naira per month, and Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. Program successful in Bauchi as federal government spent 1.5 billion naira on 2,000 schools, says Manusoro. Palliative for school children during lockdown is scam. Abuja residents, we are yet to benefit from it in Southeast State program manager. Below that, we have Nigeria reopens airspace for international flights today. Details are on page 3. Co-tenant security man arrested as body of missing tenant exhumed. Details are on page 26. Now, rugged man bringing back reality with situation EP. Details of that can be found on page 9. And on page 8, pastor kills native doctor. Find out the details on page 8. Now, page 28 reads COVID-19 federal government receives sample vaccine from Russia. Heartbeat, my husband wants my kidney for his mother. Interesting details of that on page 18. And on page 13, why Burna Boy kept mom over theft allegation. Now to Sporting Sun. Of course, this paper cannot escape Lionel Messi's story. It's trending everywhere. But let's start with our boy, Victor Osimhen, as he bags another hat-trick for Napoli. Barca exit, Messi finally surrenders. Wife, children weep. Fans excited over decision. La Liga replies his father. Details of this can be found on pages 7 and 8. Suarez makes Chiellini peace call ahead of Juve move. Details of that on page 3. Going up a bit, we have international friendlies. Nigerian fans urge Raw to invite Saka Eze. Details of that on page 2. Saka nominated for PFA Poti Award. Still on page 2, Kadri Tiger Tokyo 2020 medal. Still on page 2. And the last story we have on page 2 reads, Zidane considers Akilabi for new season. Now, Navas Icardi test positive for coronavirus. Of course, they both play for PSG. That's Paris Saint-Germain. Wijnaldum brushes off Barca talk as rumor. Details on page 7. And on the back page, Real Madrid rejects £89 million bail bid from English Premier League club. Havertz leaves Germany to complete a $89.1 million Chelsea move. Of course, the news was actually announced yesterday, and the fee stands at about £71 million. And then the last story we have this morning on Sporting Sun reads, Inter Milan to offload 3 players to fund Kante deal. Interesting headlines, I must say. But right now, we go on a break, and after that, the talk about the energy challenge in Nigeria will begin.
Around the Nigerian power sector. And to start our program proper, to set the tone, we'll start with a backgrounder put together by Francis Ogbe.
Once upon a time in Nigeria, whenever there will be power outage, rest assured the public will be notified of areas to be affected and at what time. But today, the story is different, as some Nigerians cannot boast of uninterrupted power supply for 1 week. Despite the huge investment in power, what has happened to the once amiable and glorious power sector?
An industry in chaos, an industry in disarray. That is the assessment I can give you. Because virtually everybody, like I told you, does what they like. The distribution companies do what they like because they form themselves into a kind of cartel to hold government to ransom. The general companies also try to do that.
Very poor. We ought to have moved beyond where we are. 2,000 megawatts. A population of over 200 million. We are still at that level. Always going up, falling down. There's no stability. And where there's no stability, how do we grow our SMEs? How do we now invite foreign investors to come to the country and do business with us? How will company grow?
The energy supply crisis is complex, and this stems from a variety of issues that has been ongoing for decades. Today, most Nigerian businesses and households that can afford to do so run one or more diesel fuel generators to supplement the intermittent supply.
Government is not putting the right fund in the right place. Third one is the appointment of just anybody.
The same problem that Nigeria has been fighting decades ago, corruption. How do we settle power problem how do we have a national solution to power problem when we still import generators? And those importing generators are the big names. Why would they not sabotage our discos? Why would they not sabotage our general supply of electricity? Why would they not do that?
In 2013, two segments of Nigeria's power sector, generation and distribution, were privatized to resolve the challenges associated with the proud monopoly of government in power generation, transmission and distribution. However, privatization only changed dimensions of the challenges, and power supply remains largely inadequate, unaffordable and unreliable in the country.
Government want to privatize. Who did you sell it to? Who are the owners of the privatized entities today? Go and check the CAC document or whatever. Go and check who they are. Who are they? Who owns them? That is why you should know that there's a problem. When you want to sell any property, in fact, government have sold to them. Government is giving them bailout.
Why would privatization work? Because if you privatize, the private investors need government goodwill, political will, for them to be able to successfully carry out their incentives and serve the people. But where they are doing their own and government is doing the other, because those who want to frustrate them have people in government, how would they succeed? Ordinarily, privatization would have been the utmost satisfaction of every Nigerian.
Recently, President Muhammadu Buhari directed that there should be a nationwide mass metering program for electricity consumers in the country. This is an effort by the federal government to put an end to estimated and arbitrary billing for electricity.
President Buhari has said he has given the idea that he will do meter. What did he do? He gave an opportunity that we can import more meters. That's a good idea. But you see, the first directive that they gave, which the government gave, was that we have local production. We have almost 8 or 9 companies in Nigeria who are producing meters. Is that not supposed to help show up what we have? But those ones are not being patronized.
Those who do not want the system to succeed, those who do not want Nigerians, the ordinary man on the street, to benefit from the good intention of the president, they are still floating, they are still there. Same corrupt people. What stopped Nigeria, every household in Nigeria, from having meters? We can even produce, in fact, a company in Anambra State had even offered to produce meter locally. But they insisted they want to import meters from China. China brought in meters that were not even strong enough to withstand our power system in Nigeria.
Since the rural areas are far from the electricity grid and most do not have power, there is need for each area to become a little hub where they will produce their own power by whatever resource was closest to them. For instance, in the northern areas, the mini grids would work on wind and solar power energy.
Solar power is more like for houses, but Nigeria is a country that must industrialize. We must grow strong, and you cannot be powering industries with solar.
We are gifted in terms of solar power. I said it earlier that we need the manpower to be able to convert this natural resource to energy. We still have to look for people from China, from Germany, other experts to come here and develop this sector.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on the challenges of power supply in Nigeria and the way forward. Weekend Deal.
Of course, and the way forward, and that is precisely why we are here. And Patience, of course, for you to grow the economy, certainly you must fix the power sector, because we have never been starved of ideas to move the power sector to its a desirable place, because it is estimated that about 80 million Nigerians are without, electricity.
Only 40% of us are hooked to the national grid. It's sad. It's sad.
Well, of course, I know the government will certainly not sit. Efforts must continue to be. Many efforts should, of course, be engaged in ensuring that the power sector is fixed in the country. And of course, our next report actually takes us back to look at the evolution of power sector in Nigeria from the days of ECN. This is put together by Emeka Nguluka.
Artificial light is the creation of man. It has become part of his everyday life. Every country has over time worked hard to provide this light as part of essentials for a sustainable economy. The creation of artificial light begins with an electricity power plant. In Nigeria, the first known power plant was built in Lagos in 1898. At that time, power plant projects undertakings were built by the Public Works Department, native and municipal authorities. In 1929, the utility company, Nigerian Electricity Supply Company, was established. With the Ordinance Number 15 of 1950, all power undertakings became Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, ECN. The eventual merger of Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, ECN, with Niger Dams Authority, NDA, became the National Electric Power Authority, NEPA, in 1972, creating a power monopoly organization. The Power Sector Act of 2005 transferred monopoly of NEPA to the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, which was unbundled into 11 distribution companies, 6 generation companies, and 1 transmission company. In 2013, the federal government, following its privatization policy, divested from the PHCN unbundled companies, handing over these companies to private investors, while the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, remained a government agency to manage the electricity transmission, system, and market operations. The establishment of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, brought to an end the existence of PHCN. This new agency was formed as an independent regulatory agency of federal government for the monitoring and regulation of the Nigerian electricity industry, which changed over time. Nigeria continues to evolve in its quest for electricity management and nation building.
Well, that's beautifully packaged there by Emeka. And Patience, of course, you've seen the evolution, the transition, and today, the sector is it's partly deregulated, because some people are saying, because now we talk about the hike in tariff, and then people are like, okay, fine, this should not happen. Now, of course, things are very difficult as we speak. And then, if truly you want like stable power supply, it certainly must come with some sacrifice.
Well, let me talk about the flip side to this. People say Nigerians are willing to pay if they are paying for the product. How do you pay for something that is actually not available? So it's a flip side. You're saying for us to get steady power supply, we must pay more, which is true. But how do you begin to pay for something that is not available? What guarantees do we have that if we begin to pay more money, we're going to get steady supply? So I think people are this vote of no confidence, thinking that they will not get steady power.
But majorly, which is very critical here, is the fact that the president has actually ordered for improvement in terms of metering. And if people are actually metered, knowing that, okay, fine, I pay for this consumption, because when people are, billed
accordingly.
Yeah, fine, but what you have in most of the cases, you have a situation whereby you're consuming, you are paying for what you don't consume.
That is the problem, Suleiman. But well, the next picture is on. But before I say that, do you know that 50% of Nigerians are not metered, and they are suffering under the weight of estimated billing? I mean, that's one of the problems. But this next report is on the state of power supply and the billing system. It's from NTA Ibadan. Let's watch it together.
Currently, only 40% of Nigeria's population is connected to the energy grid, while power supply difficulties are experienced around 60% of the time. It is a known fact that many states in Nigeria are having issues with inadequate power supply, which is attributed to illegal connections.
In our own system here, illegal connection is so bad that we notice that for every 10 meters that we install, between 5 and 6 are on bypass. And what that means is that we won't get the revenue. If we don't get the revenue, we cannot make up enough funds for investment.
Several protests have been embarked on by electricity consumers due to unsatisfactory services rendered by the electricity company. Majorly, high tariff, estimated billing, and load shedding, which have led consumers to circumvent the system by connecting power illegally.
More reason why people prefer to go in a corner way to connect electricity instead of going through the normal protocol. Because if they are to spend 10 naira, they will spend even more than 1,000 naira, and the electricity will not even be collected.
Also, a lot of people have paid for prepaid meter. They are not getting it. They keep complaining to NEPA, and there is no solution.
Despite efforts by the Federal Ministry of Power towards boosting the electricity capacity and ensuring steady power supply in the country, inadequate power supply still prevail.
The new tariff system is based on service level. There are people who enjoy about 20 hours a day. There are those who enjoy less than 4 hours a day. It's not our intention to give 4 hours a day. It's not even our intention to give 15 hours a day. It is our intention to give 24 hours every day.
In Oyo State, despite this intervention, the people say there's still much left to be desired. What is the situation of power supply in Oyo State?
Look at the artisans, the tailor, the hairdressers, the organizers. They will not give them light during the day. They will now give us 3 hours light in the night.
We will be using 2 hours light in a month, 24 hours in 3 months, which is not done. Sincerely, they have not been doing well for us, and they will now be coming every month and be giving us bill of 12,000 naira without using it.
What is the IBEDC doing to ensure they serve their customers better and address the issue of estimated billing and energy management?
We have spent close to nearly about 20 billion to rehabilitate substations and lines. And we are also separating some lines that are unnecessarily very long where possible. And we know that many of the rural areas were done under what they call rural electrification program, and they are not standardized. So we have started the process of making sure we standardize them.
It is, however, opined that government should acknowledge Nigerians are entrepreneurial in nature and should encourage them by providing an enabling infrastructural environment to thrive. The ripple effect of such government support will create more jobs, strengthen the country's economy, increase the GDP and general well-being of the people.
It's our prayer that indeed things get better and the general well-being of the people improves. Because of the challenges of power, a lot of people have been talking about alternative energy, and so many clients around the world are looking towards using alternative energy. The next feature by Suleiman USB. Suleiman Babaja.
Well, before you get there, let's take this one from Lagos. Of course, it's not unconnected with what we just say, what we just saw from Ibadan. Still, bordering on estimated billions, because one key aspect of this is the fact that sometimes the officials from this discourse actually aid consumers when it comes to bypassing.
Okay, bypassing. Okay.
It's really energy theft. Of course, it's not allowed, and these are inimical to the progress we want to achieve. But we have other challenges as well. But right now, let's cross over to Lagos to get the situation report when it comes to estimated billing there.
As a major determinant factor of any country's economic growth, power generation and consumption in Nigeria over the years has been a major challenge, as the survival of companies' productivity depends largely or solely on it to survive, thereby leading to relocation of some companies out of the country, or depend on generating their own power through the use of generators. As a result of this, doing business has become very expensive. However, different governments over the years at different times and fora have made concerted efforts to revamp the power sector with very little success.
The power sector in Nigeria is a very interesting dynamic in the sense that we have everything that would give us sustainable power, but unfortunately, we've not been able to achieve the goals that were set up in the National Electricity Power Policy of 2011.
This low generation has thrown many small and middle-scale enterprises out of survival and prevented them from competing favorably with their counterparts in other climes.
Supply now in my area, they're living on the Ibadan side, in Yanoba. They are doing well in that side. They are trying, NEPA are trying. They have the normal time they used to give us light, and they have the normal time they used to take it. Well, exactly that time they will bring it. Then if it's exactly the time they want to take it, they will take it.
It's not up to 30 minutes they bring it. In the next 30 minutes now, they will take it till in the evening. At the end of the month now, they will bring sometimes 35, sometimes 40, and they have been complaining. Even some of these people here now, you have got ourselves go to the NEPA to give a prepared meeting. They will be prolonging it.
While some see improvements in supply, some are very bitter over the issue of supply and billings.
Been soliciting for prepaid meter, but they are giving us estimated bill. And how do we come to this? They will not tell us. What the next thing they will do is to come and cut our light. That is
if every home or every store can have the prepaid meter and is well regulated. For me, I think it's okay. And for now, getting the prepaid meter is a kind of issue because some people don't even have the privilege to get the prepaid meter. I learned before it's free of charge, but right now I learned you have to pay enough money for you to get it, which I think it's not a good way or a way forward. So I think if anybody can get the prepaid meter free of charge and you can actually pay to consume whatever you use, I think it's fine.
There has also been the cases of electricity workers distributing bills and disconnecting defaulters of bill payments being assaulted. Our correspondent sought to speak to a coal distribution company staff to shed more light on the issue, proved abortive, as they were not readily on ground and willing to speak.
If there's any issues at all about services and supply, the rules are there to guide us. There's a complaint procedure, not only to the discos, but even to the regulator NEC. So if you have a problem with your electricity supply or electricity issue, you have to do two things. One, pick up your phone or take up your pen and report this complaint to the discos themselves and to the NEC. And the NEC have created a regulation that binds the schools to act within a certain time frame that the complaint is made. If they don't, they are penalized.
Endowed with abundant sources of renewable energy generation and distribution capacity, what needs to be done to make the Nigerian's energy sector to perform optimally?
Government needs to take away totally the exact duty of meters and meter components so that it would encourage more importation of meter and meter part for those that are manufactured in Nigeria, and also provide some sort of forex window for importation of meters and components and electric equipment.
Oh yes, the need for Nigerians to be properly metered so that they can, Suleiman, so that they can pay for what they are consuming.
Yeah, very apt. And of course, like we said at the beginning of the program, you can send in your contributions so that we can share it with others as well. I know this is one, issue that concerns all of us. People want stable and affordable power supply in the country, and of course, we know that when we have mass metering program, we ensure that everybody is metered, it will increase efficiency in the power sector. So let's take this report put together by Enia Onobu on mass metering program.
One of the basic amenities that makes the economy of a nation grow strong and move forward is good and constant power supply. This is a major bedrock to the growth of any nation. As with any part of the economy, the power sector is not devoid of many besetting challenges.
Prepaid meter is a major challenge, major challenge that we've experienced in the sector. Also, the capacity to even acquire. Some people don't even have the money, to pay for it. Initially, it started as a free metering that people are given to, but subsequently a fee was introduced. Also, those who have capacity to pay to be able to acquire it is another problem. Also, in terms of the terrain of the country, not all areas. Up to now, we have millions, more than 3 million in terms of the gap of those who actually need prepaid meters and those who actually who have gotten it.
There are concerns amongst electricity consumers on issues of estimated billings. Many are of the opinion that the bills they get for usage of power supply is not commensurable to their consumption. This has, in some instances, led to attack on staff of distribution companies in some parts of the country.
Now, where I live, Alandugbe, since 3 days ago, we've not gotten light. And I am on estimated billings. They want to double it again now.
Before, they will get it very easy. Even they will follow you with it in your house. But now, to get it, it is hard. If we are patient, we'll get.
Us to go and buy meter and fix for them to use and bill us. Is it wise? It's not. What service do they render? Where I live today, we bought line, we bought the cable, we give us a bill. They don't even consider how much we invested in the line and how much we invested in the.
To address the issues of estimated billings, President Muhammadu Buhari directed that there should be a nationwide mass metering program for electricity consumers in the country to put an end to arbitrary billing for electricity.
The directive is good, but like I said, it must be very meticulously addressed in such a way that both the investors, the GENCOs, discos, the consumers and also the government can have a middle ground, such that those who have invested money will not lose their money, such that the consumer will also have, benefit for what the kind of money they are paying, to get power.
Consumers of electricity would heave a sigh of relief when every household in Nigeria is metered in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's directive.
Indeed, Nigerians will heave a sigh of relief if every household is metered. Mass metering the way to go. Let's go to the streets and feel the pulse of the people. Koho was out there. Let's hear what they have to say.
It's been an improvement. It is not like before. Again, before now, the light situation was so terrible, but now there's an improvement.
So the light situation has not exactly improved. It's been very epileptic, yes, I would say that. So most times you have lights the whole day, and then some other times you have lights in the morning, and then sometime late morning to the end of close of work, you don't have light, and that affects businesses. It stops us from doing anything.
It's not been so great because usually we get light on some days. Some days are good, I will actually not lie, but some days are like pretty bad because we get light for the better part of the morning till, let's say, 12 p.m. and they take it until the close of work. We happen not to have electricity for the rest of the day, and that hinders productivity.
I think rather it's worse than still as it always has been. I hardly even get electricity, like, let's say probably twice in a week or so.
From my own observation, there's no improvement because I live here in Gariki and we don't normally have lights.
It has been the same or even worse sometimes. There's no light, and even if there's light, it has to be maybe for just not even more than 2 hours.
The light in my area has not really been good. Sometimes they do share the light. They'll say some day we have some days off, some days on. And even the day they say it's our own day, we don't really have the light. And at times, in fact, recently, we just noticed that the light started becoming low. And that low light sometimes affects the electronics at home.
I applied for a prepaid meter. It's been up to a year, 2 months now, but I have not been issued any. We are still being given estimated bills.
We have a meter, so we don't get estimated billings. But with the recent tariff increase, it's not going to be the same because usually you would buy light for a particular amount and would expect a particular number of units. But now that things have obviously changed, it's going to be you buy light for an amount and what you get is nothing compared to the amount you spend to buy it.
I have a prepaid meter. But with the recent increase in the tariff, as we all know, from 30 naira to about 62 naira, you see that also affects the cost of getting electricity.
Yeah, I do. I have a meter at home. So, but with the hike in the tariff now, it will be disaster because when you buy credits, by the time you know it, the card will be gone.
Nigerians are crying out there, the hike in tariffs. They are crying out, some are crying out for meters so that they can be billed accordingly. Suleiman?
Yes, and I tell you, Patience, I remember when I was being given estimated bill, and trust me, it was not a funny experience. And because you get to pay, I hardly stay at home for crying out loud. I'm always at work, and then you go back home, and then they bring the bill, and of course you are paying for what you don't know. There were times that you don't even have the electricity. At some point, they cut off my connection because I was really pissed off. I was very angry at the amounts they were, bringing.
Asking
so
for you to pay.
For that 1 month that I was completely off their grid, they still brought the bill.
They brought a bill to you?
Of course. So, but immediately
was it an error? Challenges, talking about power challenges, and I said that in other climes, people are looking at alternative source of power. Yes, because looking at other means that they can generate power so that power will be adequate for the use of the people. Suleiman, the USB has put together this feature on solar as an alternative use.
2018, World Bank ranked Nigeria as the second largest country and first in Africa with more of our population without electricity. This leaves about 55% of the country's inhabitants with no access to grid-connected electricity. However, the 45% of Nigerians connected to the grid cannot boast of its efficiency. Hence, the reliance on private power generation using generators and more recently solar, which is cleaner, safer, and arguably more affordable. Nigeria lies within a high sunshine belt, and as a result, solar radiation is fairly well distributed within the country. The potential for solar market is huge in the country, most especially as the government aims to achieve universal access to electricity target by 2030.
Some of the challenges that we have had with the grid, is that we haven't been able to reach the unserved and underserved areas, which is exactly why the REA exists. So within the REA, there are projects that do concentrate on the grid extension. However, given that some of these areas are extremely remote, sometimes we are forced to look alternately to, as you rightly mentioned, solar energy. Particularly, we deploy mini grids in areas and communities where, we feel like mini grids can serve as an alternative to the grid extension. And of course, with the mini grids, it's a solution that looks at more of households, and communities where you have, maybe 200, 300 households.
Today, mini solar grids are being installed as alternative source, and rural communities have been quite receptive to the new technology.
What we continue to encourage is beyond looking at the power that you've provided, how is that local community using that power for productive use? So we've rolled out programs within our African Development Bank Nigerian electrification project of productive use appliances. So we're looking at areas where these mini grids have been deployed, and we're encouraging the local community to continue to use these mini grids in their day-to-day lives, in maybe agriculture, things that they need to bring in to ensure that the power they're actually getting is translating into improving their lives.
The federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, introduced the Energizing Economies initiative to deploy off-grid electricity within economic clusters across the country, an initiative to provide electricity access to over 80,000 retail shops, empower 340,000 micro, small and medium enterprises, and create over 2,500 jobs while serving 18 million Nigerians. Sura Market in Lagos, Sabongari Market in Kano, and Ariaria Market in Aba are success stories of these initiatives.
Where we domicile within the area and use that as grants and subsidies. However, what you find is that because the gap is so wide, all those resources that we have, don't actually cater for the needs of the people. So I think one of the major things is funding that particular gap. This is why the REA is very big on really trying to bring in private sector investment.
The future of solar energy appears to be bright given the rising number of private players engaging in the initiative.
Well, I think the future is really, really bright. I think we can, with some of the policies that we have put in place now for local assembly and manufacturing, what you find is that I honestly believe that Nigeria can actually become a hub for West Africa and eventually for Africa.
The deployment of solar technology is certainly one of many key solutions toward fulfilling the Nigeria's increasing demand for energy.
Okay, so you're welcome back. I told you earlier when we started that to help us along this conversation, we have guest, and our first guest is in the house. He is the President, National Association of Electrical Consumers, Mr. Chijoke James, and he's here to help us with the conversation. You're welcome to the WeekendDeal studio, sir.
Yeah, pleased to meet you.
I want to start. Slim, let me just start. I didn't know we had an association like that.
Okay.
Am I a member?
Yeah, well.
And what are my contributions as a member?
Well, from the president of Nigeria to the last man is an electricity consumer. For as long as you use electricity, you are a consumer. It is Electricity Consumers Association of Nigeria, ECAN.
Okay.
Yeah, I am the president.
Well, Barrister Chijioke James, it's nice to have you in our studio. And you will agree with me that in Nigeria we have never been starved of ideas to move this country forward, most especially when it comes to ensuring that we have a regular and affordable power supply in the country, because power supply is actually tied to almost every aspect of the economy and livelihood. But why have we been getting it wrong, really?
Well, in the last over a decade now, the federal government have sunk in close to $25 billion in the power sector.
25 billion?
Yeah. And consumers have not got anything to cheer about it. I mean, public funds belonging to every Nigerian has been put into this sector. We are not getting the what we need as consumers from those investments. So consumers are not really happy. They are not satisfied. They are not getting any benefits, so to say, from those public sector investment in that sector. And you know that everything the president admirably committed to diversifying the economy. You can't diversify the Nigerian economy without power. Power is key. Is key. It's critical. That's the engine room to stimulate everything about diversification. We can't talk about commercial agriculture without power, because what the margin in profit is not from the farm. The margin is from the farm gates. Just like, Switzerland has no single cocoa tree, but everybody takes chocolate from Switzerland. So, meanwhile, it is poor farmers that are there. But because there is no power to bring the added value in the value chain, and that's why we are losing totally. So, I think the federal government will need to, do more and put their foot on the ground to ensure that the power sector is gotten right. And once we get the power sector right, everything will stabilize. We are not happy, particularly with the recent
hike.
Exactly.
Tariff increase. One, it is insensitive. Two, it is ill-advised. Because in this kind of scenario that we have right now, a lot of people would expect that the development economics who are advising the government will let them know that Nigeria has been shut down in the last 4 months. People are not earning more, and in other climes with the pandemic and the associated economic crisis, government give some kind of palliatives, some tax holidays, some even give out loans to existing companies so that they don't retrench.
Mr. Chijioke, you will agree with me that this, when you talk about palliative, it comes in different, dimensions. It might not necessarily be here, but that does not mean that it doesn't exist. But some are saying that the hike is actually necessary to ensuring that we have stable power supply in the country.
Well, the last interactions we had, and that was with the National Assembly, it was agreed that the tariffs could come probably by first quarter of 2021, next year. So the lockdown have just been eased. People are not getting extra income. The masses of Nigerians are suffering. So coming to increase tariff now, and it's just not right.
But as an association,
yeah,
were you consulted? Were you carried along?
We were not carried along.
No form of consultation.
No form of consultation with us. We were not carried along, and it is clear that before you increase tariff, you have extensive consultations with consumers at different strata. If you see the Nigerian Labour Congress, who are also consumers, people who are working in civil service and all that, they were not consulted. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce, who are also one of the biggest consumers because they have, big manufacturing
the reality
companies,
is, of course, we already talked about why it is, why the increase, and then of course you said a lot about that. But don't you think that concentration should be more about metering households, companies, instead of concentrating on the hike in tariff?
My view is this: not just concentration on metering. Last week, the president gave a directive that there should be mass metering.
Yes.
Yeah. And my considered view is that we don't even need a presidential directive for people to do what they need to do. Must the president be involved in things that, like, for example, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has the remit, has the statutory remit to walk the talk in this sector. So why go back to the president and worry the man? Will the president be everywhere in the country? So if an agency has been empowered by law to, coordinate activities in this particular sector, why do you want to go back to the president when the law? That's why we need to begin to build institutions. Somebody is sick, you want to go to the president.
Okay.
So NERC, it is their duty and responsibility to ensure that the discos are held to account.
Okay.
On behalf of the people, they are holding a position of public trust.
Yes. Now, talking about the situation in Nigeria, we always say that the government has good intentions, like the privatization the unbundling.
Yeah. Very well.
It was done with the aim of improving power supply. What went wrong with it?
Let me say it this way, because I'm looking at it from the legal perspective. There are views that says the privatization process should be cancelled and so on and so forth. But my approach from the legal standpoint is Nigeria is a country of laws. So if those who were in charge entered into agreements on behalf of the government of Nigeria, then government is bound to honor those agreements. But if you look at the Power Reform Act, it gives the government the latitude to ensure that the discos and other operators, keep to the terms. And where they feel that for some reasons there is need to renegotiate, there are windows that allows it. But instead of total cancellation, what they would have done, and we have done it before and we have seen it work, is for government to apply the same process in consolidation of the banks. Because you don't pass the burden of a disco to a consumer, where my consumers pay for meter. Some of them have paid for meter in the last 1 year, they've never seen any meter. And it's just like you're going to the farm. You must go with a hoe. How can this go?
As the president of this association, what are you doing in ensuring that these meters are made available? Because how can you pay for something for almost 1 year? That's what you're saying now.
Yeah. Now let me tell you something. As president, I don't have police. I don't have any enforcement. The only thing I can do is the advocacy, and we have been doing it. We've been at the National Assembly.
You can have, you have legal means to address that.
Well, yeah, you have legal means to address it. Now, by the time you go to litigate, they have, if you go back memory lane, there was a time consumers wanted to sue. We gave notice to sue mass action for 40 billion naira class for charging meter maintenance fee, because in the law it's illegal. And that was the time when Sam Amadi was the NERC chairman. So I gave them that pre-action notice, And in 48 hours, they reversed it.
Good.
Yeah. So, because you need to look at the law. When you look at the law, then you hold them to it. Those who are there, so immediately, because he was a lawyer, so he saw it. And immediately they reversed it. There was a policy statement to reverse. You can't charge me meter maintenance fee when I don't even have meter. It is your responsibility. Look, metering is the exclusive responsibility of distribution companies. Government has nothing to do with it. Consumers have nothing to do with it. Yet, consumers said, okay, fine, because we need this meter. Let us pay and give us the meter. I mean, you are going to the farm. Am I supposed to give you the whole? So if you say you're a distribution company, it is that's the tool of your trade. Now, consumers cannot continue to hold the lower end of the stick all the time. So, and NERC is the regulator. So if they put the ground rules and the discos or any of the stakeholders, flout it, there should be sanctions. It's not about, take responsibility. They shouldn't be going there, talking to the president, Look, you are the one who are guiding. You do it. They did it in the banking sector. And when they saw that the people who were the providers of those services, probably the banks, if they don't consolidate, they were going to crash. They put up a law that allowed them to consolidate. So what we are asking as consumers is that the discos, instead of them, if they don't, for you to be able to play, you show both financial and technical capacity. Before you can, So if they, presented to the government, they have the financial and technical capacity to do this work. And over the last 5-10 years, we have found out that they are unable to cope. Government should induce a consolidation of that sector so that they will have enough resources to provide services to Nigerians. Consumers need this thing. And in the sector, they need people with high financial capacity, because it's not like it's not like power business require huge investment and you don't recoup it immediately. Yeah, it's not something you buy off the shelf.
Barrister, let's just take this report, which borders on estimated billing as well, from NTA Oka. After the report, we'll continue with this conversation. Let's take this report.
Stable electricity has continued to be one of the major problems militating against the nation's development from the days of NEPA to the present discourse. Since 2005, when the federal government decided to reduce her control of the industry by embracing privatization to make power more effective, and to the completion of the process in 2013, the situation has not changed much.
People are being defrauded because that is without a prepared meter. Because in some areas you don't have light up to 3 hours in a day, and yet the people are billed.
And even now, I'm talking to you now, we don't have light. They don't used to give us light there. And I'm not happy. So it's really affecting me. It's really affecting everybody in the compound.
There is persistent failure of the nation's power sector to make available adequate and constant electricity to her teeming domestic and industrial consumers, in spite of recorded economic growth over the years. Erratic power supply and the estimated billing system, including unannounced power cuts and restoration, are common challenges that have crippled businesses and popularized the use of generators. Therefore, the President's statement that the federal government is working to ensure that discos are committed to increase hours and quality of service, as well as ongoing mass metering program in the country, are signs of better days ahead.
From the feelers I got from other people have not been gotten. I don't know if the thing is practical or just in theory. Around 2010, I applied for the meter, which I couldn't be able to get. They said there is no meter, that prepared meter. I paid, they said I should pay 25,000, but later they said they cancelled it. So for now, I don't know that the government have reduced the price. So if you have prepared meter, with my own personal experience, if there's no electricity, it will stop reading. So it's a welcome development. Only that I don't know how efficient the distribution has been.
Most important is monitoring. Make sure that what they say, the directive they gave, at least that those people are carrying it.
The access to meter is increased. Definitely supply will increase because the loss of revenue will reduce. So definitely this federal government intervention is going to add value to whatever is happening, towards enhanced power supply, in this country. In Anambra State particularly, is going to, assist us greatly because our governor, the governor of Anambra State, Chief Willie Madabrochko, has done a lot to enhance power supply in the homes of Anambra. He has, given a whole lot of transformer substation to the disco to assist, provision of power. It's extended transmission infrastructure to even communities that have never, had light before.
In addition, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has confirmed no tariff increase for the masses and gave the discos marching order to embark on mass metering.
Well, there you have it. And of course, we'll continue to talk about the issues that will bring a lasting solution to the power sector in Nigeria. And of course, another version of estimated billings. There, people sharing their experiences. But Barrister, I don't know what happens. In the past, before there is a power outage, information will go around that from this time to this time, there's going to be power outage so that at least you're prepared to take precautionary measures to ensuring that your appliances are not, damaged. But these days, you don't have that. And then when the power comes back, sometimes the voltage is just too high. And then your electrical appliances get damaged. Now, what should the consumer do? My first instinct is to sue for damages.
Well, first of all, the NERC is not living up to expectation because they are the regulator that will regulate, the sector. And they put the ground rules and ensure that discos abide by it. But unfortunately, that's not what we're getting. In other climes, if there is going to be a power outage, there will be a notice. But here, there is no notice. So consumers are at the disadvantage, this thing in this whole sector. And really, consumers have a right. If you are not given notice and they give you voltage that is higher and then your equipments are destroyed and you can prove it, well, of course, you have a right to go to court to do it. But how many of our consumers has what it takes to, maintain litigation in court? The rule of law is very slow. Yeah. So say, for example, your damage is about 10,000 naira, and then when you engage a lawyer to file a matter, and it goes for up to 2 years. So that's the disincentive. But the regulator could look at the problems of the consumers because they are holding that position on public trust. So it is the responsibility. The regulator has everything, the coercive power of states to hold the service providers to account. It's a simple thing.
Okay, so we would take this report, right?
No, yeah, at least maybe we want to talk about way forward.
Oh yeah, so it's obvious that our discos are not playing the right tunes because Nigerians are not dancing.
Yeah, that's it.
How can we get them to play the right tunes and let Nigerians jubilate? Way forward.
It's very simple. The government has what it takes to hold them to account, to make them play the right tune.
Okay.
The laws are there. We're a country of laws. There is a Power Reform Act, which is the ground norm that guides, the operation in that sector. So that is the leeway that the government has to hold the discos to account. And where discos are not doing what they are supposed to do, there are sanctions there. The government should have the will to exercise those sanctions. And once, say for example, if it's a Abuja disco and then they are not living up to expectation in line with the framework, then once the sanctions are applied, others will wake up. That's what it is. And those who do not have the capacity, the government also has the ability to coerce them, force them to consolidate, to have the capacity to serve the consumers. Consumers are interested in service.
Well, consumer definitely wants the best deal in any situation. Yeah. But there's another aspect that I'm sure not everybody will be happy about it. The fact that you have consumers connecting to the grid illegally, doing all sorts of things. I know
that is wrong.
You don't have much platform, to educate people or to, sensitize people. So,
well, that's part of what the National Orientation Agency is doing, is within their remit to pass on this information, not just only electricity, all public properties. Nigerians must ensure it's a collective, the property of the public. It's your property, it's my property, it's everybody's property. So we have a civic responsibility to protect public properties because it benefits all. So when a few criminal elements vandalize those public properties, it has it has a very negative effect on a greater number of people. So we have to increase advocacy to discourage vandalization of public properties. That's just what it is.
Well, we keep hoping and praying that we get it right as a nation, because if we want to be developed, we must have good power supply. I mean, it is central to who we are as individual and as a country. We've been speaking with Mr. Chijioke James, the president of Electricity Consumers Association, and he says we are all members of his association. Just heard today, and he has told us what some of the challenges are and way forward. Thank you so much for coming to our studio. We'll now go on a break. Or Sule, we go, it's trending videos?
Not yet. We'll take a story from Kachi.
Okay, Kachi. So let's see what Kachi has for us. Stay.
A player in the utilities industry, the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company has outlined its business plan to improve the city's power supply. Over the last 6 months, an optimistic percentage of residents of the Federal Capital Territory have reported an appreciable increase in electric power supply. In some instances, the electricity supplied is potentially a liability. Casually referred to as high or low current, the issue of fluctuating voltage can be damaging to electrical fixtures, appliances, and gadgets. What is responsible for this occurrence?
One of the things that can result to high voltage is maybe there is a cut in the neutral wire, and that is supposed to stabilize the voltage on the phases. If there is a foreign body on the line, that could also result in high voltage. So the second one, of course, is low voltage. Maybe as a result of you have too much people on a particular transformer, or that the customer that is experiencing that low voltage is at the tail end of the supply line.
The quality of power supplied in some areas of the city raises a valid concern. Can consumers pursue litigation for damages resulting from voltage fluctuations? Unfortunately, for consumers who experience voltage fluctuations and resulting damage, it is difficult to lay the blame squarely on the distribution company. The most common causes, as we have learned, are rarely negligence from the distribution end, but largely incidental: faulty wiring, overloaded circuits, a bird perching on a line, storms, lightning, a car crashing into an electric pole, and so on. In light of this, what does the AEDC do to intervene?
When we get reports, is to conduct the necessary tests. Our technical people, they have the expertise to conduct the necessary tests and see where the problem is coming from. If there is a foreign body on the line, if the neutral wire is caught, if there are other issues that are bringing about that low voltage, maybe the GMP fuse, what we call GMP fuse, maybe one or two of them have dropped. It will require that our protection control and metering department or unit of the technical department take up that responsibility to check what exactly the problem is so that they can correct it and customers can have the right voltage profile for their appliances.
While legal action might prove to be a fruitless venture, consumers can, however, protect themselves from incurring any losses with a few simple protocols. Unplug appliances not in use. When a high number of gadgets are connected at a single time or to the same circuit, it causes interference. Moving some gadgets to another circuit often resolves this, or putting on appliances with high loads at separate times. Reduce your energy consumption. If it's not needed, don't turn it on. Your aggressive consumption can also contribute to a peak in the transformer capacity, which limits the voltage for other members of your distribution network. Use circuit breakers and extension sockets to prevent damage to your appliances and gadgets. Always call a licensed electrician to check if your electrical connections are safe and if there is a faulty or substandard wiring that needs repair. If you notice a surge in your voltage when certain appliances are plugged in, you may want to consider having them examined by an electrician.
Transmission is also planning to improve their capacity. It will enable distribution to have access to more load. And once we have access to more load, the onus or the responsibility is now on us as a DISCO to make sure that we push more supply to those axes. And guess what? Once we are able to do that, we can also move customers in that Mararaba, Karu, and all of those axes, maybe to the 20 hours power supply.
As the AEDC moves to improve the capacity, quality, and longevity of electricity supply, residents can only hope that these efforts will render voltage fluctuations a thing of the past.
All right, there you have it. I'm sure those safety tips can help us all while we keep conversing for stable power supply in the country. And of course, right now, let's take a trending video. Of course, this is one, aspect of the show a lot of people are looking out for.
I'm sorry, madam. We might need to disconnect your light because there's been a power surge.
You don't pay, you just use light 6 months. You don't use light. We don't go eat. I go cut down.
Now. Shout on the bed now. I don't cut down again. Damn you. I beg now, bros. I dey play now.
Professor Tokia. They don't give us assignment again. They say more list all the things where they are annoying people about NEPA.
Number one, nothing is more annoying. Say children for your neighborhood be playing with up NEPA when your battery is 1 bar left. Nothing is more annoying than you plug your phone overnight to charge only for you to wake up and discover you did not on the switch. What do you? Nothing is more annoying than you are cooking beans with hot plate. 15 minutes for the beans to get ready. Light.
country.
You walk, you say. Update. Okay. Happy new month, Patrick. See. Happy new month, Oben. To the guys and the gentle girls. To the ones who they call on the Lord last month. This month, he go send you text. Lord, this month, show us love. Make the money day come every day. No, to which one you don't go see your passport. For better one, take a blessing passport. A lot of people died last month, but we thank God say last month, no be our last month. Blessings come your way. Far away. For marriage, Lord, this month, put them one side today. This month is my month. It's a prophecy. Money go call me bulk. And that currency. This month is my month. It's a prophecy. Money go call me bulk. And that currency.
Evacuate the city. Engage all the fences. Get this man a shield. In my culture, death is not the end.
Well, what can I say? Thank you to Ikorodu Boys for putting that together. Of course, it was quite an emotional video. Trending video, comes with a lot of fun, but that was quite emotional because of the personality of Chadwick Boseman. And of course, we get to share that much later after our next report. Talk to us about that.
It's still in the same line. Jimmy Johnson, popularly known as Okoro in the village headmaster, for so many decades, he brought laughter to our homes, he brought joy to our homes with his pure talent. And recently he passed on. This is a very nice tribute put together for him. Let's say it together.
Village headmaster. That's a program that has cut across the entire country. It knew no bounds, no tribal, no politics, nothing. Village headmaster cut across the entire country.
Kabesi, I agree with your chief. They have killed me, Kabesi. They have killed me, Panapati. Oh, they have killed me. Those big people in Lagos, import license, they have killed me.
Which people?
Chinekili. What did I say so? Boniface, burn them out. Now, one whole tin of milk, now they put inside a camel when you want drink.
It is only a little bit of milk inside.
Okoro Ginoko, as Bamishe would call me. Okoro is the Igbo man who ended up buying a shop from Baziokon with his load of money behind him. He went and bought another shop, and like the normal Igbo man who is a trader, sells everything. Okoro was created by Tunde Olede, late Tunde, and he just called me and said, Jimmy, I want you to come and open up another character in Village Headmaster that we're missing that should be on it.
Who be LGBT? Same to you. I say who be LGBT? Same to you. Huh? I say who is it? Who? You. Waiting. If now Juju, now you want take a fight here. I show you my cutlass. This one pass to Juju. Be here. Okoro. My mama is Okoro.
Wanyoma. Wanyoma, tomato, just tomato. Asambete. Chai, fine woman. I say make her salute you proper. As you fine, so now I know say your food is fine, is sweet. Thank you. Fine woman, sweet food.
May his gentle soul continue to rest in peace. I mean, all the souls of our veterans and people who have entertained us, who have passed on, all continue to rest in peace.
And Patience, of course, that's one wonderful personality.
Yes.
And when he came on Yamadino NTA series now, the impact he made on those young and upcoming actors there was very, very impactful, because this is somebody who is willing to share from his wealth of knowledge and experience. And anytime he comes around, you see the way people, circle around him and then trying to tap one or two things from him. Very jovial.
Yes.
And I'm sure he will rest in peace.
And
still talking about paying tribute, of course, the Ikorodu boys started that in our trending video, still about Bossman. This is one individual that started, very slowly, but he was sure of what he wanted in life, to be a wonderful director. And one thing he realized that he knew right from time that he could not jump into that, just like that. He needed different, tutelage, different experiences, and that's why he started as an actor, and then he just excelled.
It was just unfortunate that he left us at the point where we would have seen a different dimension to what he is. And like I said, thank you, Chadwick Boseman, for making our children realize that they too can be superheroes. They too can own it and be great. It was his performance brought light to what ordinarily was not the purview of our color.
That's very interesting, and that is where we're taking this report from Tochi. It's all about Bossman.
to watch just what it means to people. At times, like in my head, I'll be like, well, what does this do for the world? Like, actually, what is it? You know, is it actually valuable in this climate? And I have to say, yes, it actually is. Not because it makes people escape. I think when done right, it gives people hope.
We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe.
For the man who believed in process, for the man who believed that hard work pays, for the man who will stop at nothing to ensuring that this society is a better place for all, for the man who will sacrifice to ensuring that his neighbor smiles. This is for you, Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace. Right now, we take a sports summit put together by wear a particular jersey. It means sign of good luck or bad luck.
I've always wondered about that because I remember way back, Nigeria is going to play and they wear a particular white jersey. I have cousins that will say, oh, why did they wear the white jersey? Now we are going to lose. And I'm like, how does the jersey affect their legs and their play? It's a myth.
Trust me, superstition and all of that. But for some people, it works. It's coincidence. I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but certainly for some people. But trust me, this current jersey we are using now, it's one jersey that I love so much. I wish we can use it for like 2 more years. I really don't have a problem with that, but it's so cool. And really, really cool. And of course, this is where we call it a day on the show today. And of course, we have been talking extensively about energy challenge in the country. And tomorrow, certainly, we'll continue in this direction to talk about more other angles to ensuring that we have a stable power supply, an affordable power supply in Nigeria.
Oh yes, the conversation continues tomorrow as we'll be breaking new ground as far as our discussion is concerned. See you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria. God bless all of us.